Hi everyone, this is Peter. Sorry my presentation's a little bit late. Anyway, I'm presenting on symbolism of numbers in Chinese culture. So, in Chinese there are various symbolic meanings that are associated with a lot of numbers. Most of the time it has something to do with what other words the number sounds like. Kind of like how in English, 1 can be the past tense of win, but it can also be the number 1. Or 8 can be the past tense of eat, but it can also be the number 8. So a lot of numbers are considered either lucky or unlucky based on what other words they sound like. So one of the two most prevalent beliefs like this is surrounding the number 4. So the number 4 is pronounced si, which sounds very similar to si, which means death. Therefore, 4 is considered extremely unlucky, and people will avoid it whenever possible. So people will try to avoid having a telephone number that has too many 4s in it, or a license plate number that has too many 4s in it. In a lot of cases, buildings won't have a 4th floor. They'll have a 3rd floor, and then above that is the 5th floor. And even on the floors, there won't be any rooms. Sometimes even they won't have rooms labeled with the number 4. So there won't be a room number 14, there won't be a number 24, that sort of thing. People will go to a lot of lengths to avoid associating themselves with the number 4 sometimes. A lot of Asian languages, in fact, have something like this, where the word for death sounds similar to the number 4. For example, in Japanese, they're both pronounced shi, and in fact, before I was doing this presentation, all I knew was that in Japan, the whole 4 is death thing was very important, but I didn't know that it was also quite this ubiquitous in China as well. So then, the number 6 is pronounced liu, which is similar to liu, which means to flow. It has connotations of like smoothness, and so therefore, the number 6 is associated with things going well, things flowing smoothly. It's considered lucky, especially in the context of travel. For example, if you're traveling somewhere, it would be considered luckier to go on flight number 106 than, say, some other flight. People will sometimes make sure that when they leave on a trip, the number 6 is involved somehow, so that their trip will go smoothly. In Cantonese, 6 has other favorable meanings, because both the number 6 and the word for wealth are pronounced lok, so it has that connotation of wealth. So the other very important number in this symbolism is the number 8, ba, which sounds similar to fa, which means wealth. It's considered extremely lucky. People will go to great lengths to get the digit 8 on their license plate or their phone number or whatever. They want as many 8s as possible. If you have a date that contains the number 8 somewhere, it's considered to be auspicious or extra lucky, that you'd want to schedule your important events for days that have extra 8s in them, like the Beijing Olympics, which started on August 8th, 2008, at 8:08, which would be considered an extremely lucky date. I believe I read that they held it that year instead of the year before that because the previous Olympics was during 2004, and because of the 4, that was considered an unlucky year, and so they wanted to wait until the lucky year 2008 to host them. Also, I believe that there are traditions surrounding weddings where the groom will make a gift to the bride of, for example, 8,888 yuan, because it's, again, considered very lucky. The number 9, zhou, is, there's a word that means long-lasting that's pronounced the same as it, so it's considered a somewhat lucky number, not quite as lucky as, say, 6 or 8. It's associated with the emperors of China and the Forbidden City, which I believe has, was it 9,999 rooms in it? It's also used often in weddings or between lovers. For example, a man will buy his girlfriend 9 roses, or even 99 roses, because of that idea that they want the love to be long-lasting. Other numbers have meanings as well, although they're not quite as ubiquitous. 2 is considered luckier than 1, and for that reason, people often give gifts in pairs. Just in general, even numbers are considered luckier than odd numbers. If you string together numbers that sound like other words, you can get basically entire sentences made out of these lucky numbers. For example, 5, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 4, which is the number 52113114, sounds somewhat similar to 我爱你一生一世, which means I love you for a lifetime, or I love you forever, or something similar to that. And there are other similar combinations that people have made. So my questions are, first of all, are there any comparably pervasive beliefs in Western culture? Now, I know that in Western culture, there are certain numbers like 7 that are considered lucky to some extent, and other numbers like 13 or 666 that are considered unlucky, but they're not as ubiquitous as these numbers in Chinese are. And so my question is, do you think that there's any real equivalent? Something that is that pervasive? And then my other question is, have you had any interaction with these traditions? Like, have you met a person from China who expressed a preference for the number 8 over the number 4, or something similar to that? Just, have you ever, basically, have you seen these in real life? So, you can comment your answers to these questions or any other thoughts on the video. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say. Oh, and here are some sources I used. Some very interesting things in there. Yeah, I think that's about it.